Hello, my name is Matt Nahat and I have with me Hannah, and we are together going to be doing a blind read of Archwizard rules. Archwizard is a board game being developed by Donald Shaw, and we are looking to give it a bit of a read and see what we can make of it, see if we can understand the rules as written, what we think that they mean, and maybe make some decisions if we don't know what it means, so that when we go through an actual playthrough that we know what we're doing with it. So real quick, let's start here. So in Archwizard, the players each play a part of a medieval wizard living with their apprentices and companions in a citadel standing at the edge of a sizable valley. The game is played over 5 turns, each representing a day full of activity as the wizards compete with each other to earn as much prestige as possible. We have 3 phases in each day: dawn, daytime, and dusk. In the dawn, the wizards cast auguries to divine what valuable resources might be found and where out in the valley. Then, during the daytime, they and their apprentices and companions can study or travel out, racing their rivals to reach the resources the wizards identified in the dawn. And finally, at dusk each day, all the wizards gather in conclave, where they perform rituals and gain prestige by boasting about their exploits and growing magical talent. After 5 days, the wizard that has accrued the most prestige will be proclaimed Archwizard, and that player wins the game. So that gives us a pretty decent description of what we're looking to do. So far, we're making sense. So we're just going to sort of be skimming this. I'm not going to read out every single word of it, but we will obviously highlight anything that becomes an issue. So it looks like we've got worker placement, we've got random allocation of where resources are on the map. We can cast spells during dawn. They can turn up mana, which is used to power rituals and pay for citadel improvements. There is arcane lore, which is different from mana, and it can be used for magical arts. And companions to recruit new apprentices and adventures. So I guess 4 things. We've got mana for rituals and improvements, lore for magic, companions to recruit, and adventures to undertake. Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
We send during daytime now, so we've done dawn phase, I suppose. During daytime, we send the characters out to take actions. We harvest the mana and the lore that's on the map. We recruit the characters that we find. We complete adventures. So again, referring to those few activities. Wizards and apprentices can spend actions in their laboratory or library to generate extra mana and lore. Okay, so extra generation. For actions out in the valley, players are trying to reach the resources they want, which we've already marked. Obviously, that is there. Perform rituals at dusk. So, okay, so we've done our finding resources, we've done building onto our existing buildings, all that sort of stuff. Then we come to the 3rd phase, which is dusk. We can perform our rituals, which provide prestige and artifacts, which I'm guessing are probably items.
Yeah.
They gain prestige by investing mana to showcase their abilities.
And then we all go
add
home.
Stuff up. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So it looks like here we have the board, the valley map, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 6 players, up to 6 players, with citadels all across the board. We have a few repeated tiles. We have woods in 3 of the locations. We have, looks like 2 lakes.
Yeah.
Um,
One
we
village.
have 1 mountain.
2 villages, sorry.
2 villages, a city,
a castle, and a monastery.
castle,
And a
monastery,
bridge.
and the stones, which is in the middle.
Yep.
Okay, some of them have got icons on them. Okay, so the roads matter. Everything that is brown and connected is on a road, and also the rivers matter. We will go through that in a minute, but
And you can only cross
the rivers at
bridges.
bridge, I
Yep.
believe. We'll come to that.
Yep.
So yeah, some of them have icons on them. This city here has some icons. Obviously, we'll have to find out what they mean.
I'd
The
assume
stones
the
do as well.
I assume the book is lore, and or the page is lore or something.
This is probably the library that we were talking about,
Yeah.
and then probably the lab. And we get some. Maybe this is lore when we visit. Or we'll
I'm
figure that out.
guessing the little color wheel thing is wild, so they can all turn up there.
Yeah,
Or be found.
We'll figure this out. So
Yep.
this is what it says. Contained roads and river. Harvesting and replacement. Okay.
Yep.
The standing stones and monastery will
And
always hold specific commodities for the players to contend for. Mostly resources will appear in varying locations. So most locations it varies, but in those two, the monastery and standing stones,
and
which is
the
here,
city.
and the city.
Yeah.
Right. So they specifically have resources. Okay.
Yeah.
In addition to the valley map, the main board also contains prestige track, which is down the bottom here.
Yeah.
The dawn, daytime track. So I guess, hang on. Prestige track, the dawn divination and daytime action order, which I guess is this dawn divination order.
And there's your daylight order, so the player order in daylight.
Okay, so we'll have to figure out why these are different from each other.
Yeah.
What they actually mean.
So there's so first player is different in different phases.
Things.
Okay.
The dawn track also has slots for holding the turn order bonus tiles that are suitable for the number of players in the game.
Okay.
So
victory points
for selecting positions. So in positions 1, 2, and 3 or something. We'll figure that out in a minute.
Yeah.
But at the moment, just on a casual read of the contents, those things are obviously a question. So I guess the Dawn Divination Order is different wording than the Dawn Divination and Daytime Action Order on the description here. So those two things differ. So you're in question as to what you're looking at because the two terms are different. I think that they're the same.
I think they are,
but they're probably they should read exactly the same, whichever way it's meant to be read.
Yeah.
If they're the same thing, and if they're not the same thing, we don't know where we're looking at.
If
for
dawn
them.
is if divination is its own thing aside from dawn, you know, because dawn.
So dawn divination order, and then daylight order.
Yeah, because and I guess if you're going to go with one having daylight and one being dawn, then you should probably
separate them in the description so that we can clearly see a full stop that's one thing, and then a new sentence that's the next thing. Probably.
And if they're going, and if dawn / divination is the same, then stick with dawn to keep the theme. Make sure it is clear because dawn is the phase.
If it's written as dawn divination every time without fail, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it changes, then maybe we have some more issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see about what they mean, and obviously we'll get more clarity as the game goes on. But I would already be going, what am I looking at there? Okay, so type and nature of various valley locations. So this basically just describes now the map. So we've got the starting locations, which are the citadels. Everyone starts there. All of the companions and apprentices start there. and they travel from there each day. Okay, makes sense. Some of them contain roads and rivers. Blah, blah. Civilized locations. So the city, thieves, beggars, artisans, and traders live there, and there's roads and rivers. A laboratory expansion will be available for purchase here every day.
Okay.
And the Hedge Knight companion can buy equipment here to improve his combat skill. So obviously that's an exception to a rule somewhere that we can't buy equipment that normally or something.
Or maybe
And
other people don't have equipment at all.
potentially, yeah. So it's just something that that companion can do. Not sure if that needs to be written here.
Yeah, maybe you could. I'd like maybe have it each day a laboratory expansion will be available for purchase and equipment is available for purchase.
If it is,
If
and
it
if it's not, maybe we just have the Hedge Knight companion stuff later on.
In the Hedge Knight companion section.
Maybe, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, sure, it is another place to find that information, but we're sitting here and we're going, why is it there and not in the Hedge Knight or whatever?
Yeah.
But it could be okay. So the castle, it's got a road. Okay. It's just flavor text as far as I can see. Monastery,
Yeah.
humble monks, again, flavor text. Okay, so
So-
there is always an extra law available there each day, placed at the start of daytime.
Yep.
So we've got the city, which has the laboratory expansion purchase, the monastery, which has the law available, and we've got 2 villages, which have the rivers.
There's also one.
Again, flavor text.
Well, I guess.
So we have some flavor text and we have some actual gameplay changes.
I guess what actually it does point out the locations that have roads and rivers, but to this point, I'm not sure why that's so important.
Yep. I feel like that could be organized differently.
Yeah.
You could have maybe locations with roads, locations with rivers.
Yep.
And then potentially.
There is a village that
and
has
then
both though.
I think having the 2 things that have gameplay change in a locate, so it's like this is a mechanics thing as opposed to a just flavor text thing. I think that's significant enough to probably put in a separate box, even if it was a separate box beside the text to say this is the mechanical benefit.
Maybe places that have permanent resources as a thing, as a category.
I think it would just be you would take out the text that says as such there is always extra lore available, and you would take out the text that says the laboratory expansion is available for purchase. You would align the text to be able to have a picture or a text box beside it, and in that text box those things are then written as like a mechanics thing rather than a
being read over
right
as you gloss through a flavor
I just think
text.
having them separate would be easier, but I understand
maybe
it's fine to have it there.
You could also put it maybe in a different in color.
A different color would work, or in a box.
Or in a box.
Yep.
Would do it.
Wilderness locations now. Again, we've got flavor text. And here's your bridge where roads and rivers crossed. We have flavor text, flavor text, flavor text.
The standing stones is important.
We're gathering, and each day a library expansion will be available for purchase. Mystical nature of the stones will attract remarkable entities. Okay, I'm wondering whether these you've got this idea that there's potential encounters in these locations.
Adventures, as they're called, I believe.
So, like the villages, it says strange traveler.
Yeah.
And, you know, standing stones,
mountain
dragon
is-
potentially.
Mountain is dwarves, goblins, wyverns.
Right. Again, maybe these things could be in a
Mm.
different color.
Yeah.
So that then we can refer to it later on in the document.
Yeah.
Maybe that's unnecessary, but it's just on a first read where we're picking that up as something. All right. So now we've talked about everything that's on the map. Now, I also don't know why this has got a different background, but okay. One spell tableau. Okay, so it looks like we've got 1 to 6 and earth, air, fire, and water. At the moment, we don't know what the 1 to 6 are, and it looks like it gives special bonuses. So, the many spells of the game, organized by magical art, and the circle of ability in that art required for casting them. I feel like that could be written a little bit better. During the dawn, wizards can cast any spells for which they have sufficient ability. That makes sense. Placing one of their marker cubes on the tableau to show the spell being cast makes sense. Each wizard may cast each spell at most once per dawn. So you can cast more than one spell, but each one can only be cast once. That's how I'm reading that. Spells are not able to be cast during any other part of the day. So we're only casting spells at dawn.
Yep.
Depending on the spell, its effect may occur immediately, or it may be available to use either once or continuously during the rest of the day. So they're like buffs, effectively.
Yeah.
We can only cast them at dawn. We still don't know what the numbers are. Or is that the
circle of ability?
Circle of ability.
I think.
Right. So potentially, I think that you've already got a format here, and I think maybe having a thing here that's even just a circle or text that says circle of ability going down, because we've got earth, air, fire, and water down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. At the moment, we don't know what that is. Even if they were in circles, that might show that
if you have a different circle image for each level of ability and just put the number inside that or something.
Maybe. We don't want to go too crazy.
No,
but at the moment,
it's. I'm also curious if 6 is low or 6 is high. Do you go rank 6 and up?
I think we're going
1 or down.
1 is the lowest, and 6 is the best. Yeah, I think, because we're going up in ability. So there's a point there that if our ability is getting better, like increasing, why is it going down the page? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of getting, because like I'd sort of read it from the bottom because.
Right. So if we wanted to represent that we're getting better, increasing, maybe the earth, air, fire, and water can go at the bottom of the page, and 1 through 6 can go up instead of down.
Yeah, could work. Just
there's different ways of reading. We're going to read things differently to others.
Like, I can read it both ways. But I feel,
But that's something to think about. Okay, we've got some summary sheets. Provide activity and action summaries on one side, and a table and descriptions and costs of the various spells and rituals on the other side. Okay.
Those are in different fonts.
They are in different fonts.
They should be the same
Probably
font.
be in the same font.
Whichever font you choose, that is chosen, it should be.
Probably, yeah, to stamp your trademark on things, your identity in the game, everything, including the rulebook, should probably be the same font.
Yeah.
Find a font that you like and keep to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Unless we're actually pinning that something's different from the rest.
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable, a use of a different font. But pick a font.
We can't, we'd be stretching to read all of this, I think, and potentially it's not necessarily important. It just looks like a summary, which hopefully will be covered in the book anyway. We will get to that when we actually play the game, I think,
Yeah,
and see if the summary is actually reasonable.
Yeah, because the way I have seen this done before is role player, but it just has the name of the face in there. If you wanted to know more, you go to the book.
Right.
But that way you've got it on it's a little
yeah.
regular card sort of size.
Well, this looks like a whole page.
Yeah, so it's a role player one is just on a card, and you can use it as you go even further, even as you go further to sort of check. So we've done this and this, so we're up to this phase.
Yeah.
As a checklist, as opposed to.
So potentially we will have things to say about the action and activity summary later on, and likely that probably might mean that we'll say you could have cards for each of the dawn, daytime, and dusk activities individually, and you would go to that card and see that those are the tasks. Maybe having it all on one sheet seems fine.
If it is back to back with the spell.
Yeah.
Thing like that, it would make more sense for it to be bigger.
I see it.
As well, maybe make it an A5 if you can, so it's not taking up an enormous table space.
If it's not too small text.
Exactly. Yeah. But
I don't know until.
But the thing about board games is table space is a premium.
I think that this is meant to take up a lot of table space.
Yeah.
But we will figure that out. So you don't
want to take up more table space than you already have to.
Yeah. All right. So we won't go through all of these things because they're for gameplay. Mana crystals and lore tokens. So now, we're saying that we've got these summary sheets. Okay, so we're saying this is the contents.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think that probably we need a contents at the top of this page.
Yeah.
To say we're about to read the contents of the box.
Yeah.
Or contents of box.
In this box you will find.
And then we can see, okay, the spell tableau, the summary sheets, the mana crystals, blah, blah, blah. Not having that is like, what?
Yeah.
Why? So, okay, we've got our lore tokens and our mana crystals. They're physical tokens. Companion deck. And special companions. Each card provides details on one of the companions that can be recruited. During the course of the game, it has the name and portrait, the possible starting locations they can appear. That refers to the locations that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Their expertise in 3 skills, combat, social, and nature. Traits they may have, which I'm assuming will be defined later.
Yeah.
Locations where this companion is adept at harvesting mana and lore. We don't know what that means just yet. And any other special capabilities. Okay. 5 special companions, which are green backed, though, so they're differentiated. Only able to be recruited as special for specifically completing specific adventures. And they're kept aside from everything else. Makes sense.
Yeah, I generally feel like that could actually go in a companion page. You don't necessarily need to define all that in what's in this box.
You could just say that it's got a companion deck.
You have a companion deck and a special companion deck.
So say what each of them are without defining them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then go through and define them. Maybe?
Yeah. So because most of the time I see this box, it's sort of like it has 25 of this card, it has 30 of this card, it has 12 of this token.
So potentially in the companion deck, we should, on one of the companions, okay, so probably it should have how many cards should be in the companion deck.
Yes. In
the description here.
Yeah.
Potentially keeping what they do for later, but I understand why it's here.
I do get it, but I'm just.
But certainly we need how many cards is in it.
Definitely.
How many companions there are, plus the 5 separate ones.
Same with
so
the
that we can count
items.
them out. Yeah, the magic items are the same.
Same with the lore tokens, I believe, that are up there. The mana crystals and lore tokens. need to tell you how many there are.
If that's important, unless it's just a great big huge stack of them, in which case we're not going to count them
Yeah.
individually. I
Gosh,
don't
no.
think.
But if you've got like 20, and it's important to have 20, then
Well, yeah. I don't think it is, but
yeah,
I think it's just a pool. Whereas these things, I think, are quite specific.
Yeah.
That there might be, I don't know, 20 companions and however many magical items or whatever. We don't know, so having it in that text would be useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Easy and hard adventure card decks. Okay, so we're looking at, so we've got magic items, easy and hard. These 2 decks of cards describe the many and various unusual events and entities that can turn up in locations. They present a challenge, which require certain combinations of skills. Again, we don't know how many cards are in these decks, and having all of this information here, I understand why it's here. We've also got a problem in that this text is split.
Yes.
It's probably important to finish on a stop point and then start a new sentence.
I don't know it would matter so much if you actually had it in a booklet form.
Maybe not, but
because then it goes directly to the next page as opposed to scroll down, look to the other side.
Yeah, but still we can turn the page and it looks odd.
I don't know it matters so much, but
players can also make use of
It
spells.
looks neater.
Okay, so probably the wrong place to be talking about this. We're at the moment. Okay, let's take a step back. We're looking at the contents of this book. Okay, this is what this section is. It's the contents of the box.
Yeah.
And in the contents of the box, you're telling us that players can make the use of spells during dawn.
No.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know why that's there. Players can, during dawn, artifacts, magical items, other means to help them complete adventures. Okay, so it's because it's describing adventures. Again, I think maybe we can have a separate space for that.
Put it on a page for the adventures.
Yeah.
That.
But yeah, when you're talking about the contents of the box, I'm just not sure. It's up to you though. Like, it's not bad. But we're going, why am I reading this?
I feel like it'd be a lot neater. Not so much neater, but easier to find what you're looking for, and without repeating yourself. If you can find the page that says adventures, flip to that page and find all the information.
Yeah, there probably should be a very easily searchable glossary at the end.
That way you're not
say this is the page that this is on, and that doesn't really fit into this format here. But again, it's not bad. But these are improvements, possible improvements that we're suggesting.
Yeah, I'm just saying that based on reading a lot of game rule books and having to search a lot of game rule books and going flip, why the heck was that in that location?
Right, and trying to find that information and having to look in the contents makes not really any sense at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, we'll read the rest of what those cards include, which is flavor text, the strength of the adventure, so what you need to complete it, and how many of that thing you need, the amount of renown that it's worth, the locations where it can turn up, the capabilities that can be used to match the strength, and the reward for completing the adventure, in addition to renown.
Yeah.
Some adventures provide named items or companions. This is the only way to obtain those rewards. Otherwise, if an adventure reward includes a magic item or companion, draw 3 cards from the relevant deck and select one. Okay, well, we might talk about that later.
So it looks like if you scroll down, it looks like that box there is actually intended to be the text box. The split out text box.
Okay.
The background on the Djinn Adventure.
Okay, so it's a text box marker. Okay.
That said, I don't think it should be busy, and it should just be a different color.
Yep. Companions drawn this way place their standee in the adventure's location. Okay. Initially, only easy adventures will start out available. Okay, so I'm guessing that how we format these decks will be explained later. Having this text here again, I'm not sure is necessary unless you want to talk about how to format that draw pile, and then like this is what's in the thing, and this is how the draw pile is created. Again, probably that belongs somewhere else, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Okay, adventure location tokens. Paired tokens used to indicate where an adventure is located. Place one token next to the adventure card to one side of the board and place the matching token on the chosen location for the adventure map. Makes sense.
Yep.
Mana resource deck. Again, we don't have how many cards there's meant to be. The start of each day. Shuffle this resource deck. Again, probably doesn't belong in the contents. Draw a number of cards dependent. Is that the right dependent? It doesn't matter. On a number of players to be placed during the dawn divination phase. The card will specify how much mana has turned up and where it might be found.
Yeah.
Alright.
That makes sense to me.
When you select a card for placement, place the specified number of mana crystals together on the chosen location along with a marker cube of your color to represent that you found it.
Yeah.
Then return the card to the deck. The same card may be redrawn on later days. So a question that we would have, having played board games before, is that going to be placing it in the bottom of the deck, or is it going to be reshuffling it at that point?
Another question that popped into my head is, do the other players know you found it?
I think that the player knows what you've done, but the wizards don't know what the other players know. Like you can't.
So like
You're not metagaming.
Yeah. So like you when you're looking around, you know that if my color is yellow, my color's always yellow. So
yeah, you can't just point at a yellow and go, "Of course, there's a yellow there. That must mean there's stuff."
Like so I want to see, but I can't look. So when I'm looking for a path to it, I can't.
I think that describes it later
see
on.
the blue.
Yeah, the intention, having played the game, the intention is that whoever color is there is the only people that know it's there.
Okay, cool.
But it'll tell us that later.
Yeah.
General resource deck.
Again, we need to know the
how
number
many
of those
cards there are.
cards.
Apart from the first day, when specific starting general resource cards are put out for placement, this deck works in the same manner as the mana resource deck.
Shuffle and draw a number of cards depending on the number of players. That does make
These
sense.
cards specify different possible types of resources that might turn up, giving the quantity and location. When you select a card, place the relevant resource on the chosen location on the valley map, then either return the card to the deck or remove it, as indicated. Again, is it returned at the bottom, shuffled, or top, or where?
Yeah.
On the last day, unless there might be a rule later on that says whenever you return a card to the deck, this is where you place it.
Yeah.
But again, probably in there is fine. On the last day, all these cards will only provide lore. I don't know what that means. No new companions or apprentices. So any rewards, I'm guessing, or anything that's written on the card doesn't matter on the last day except for lore.
Maybe it's best. Maybe you remove anything that doesn't provide lore from the deck at that point.
Well, I think many things will have lore and something else. Or...
Yeah. So if something doesn't have anything but lore, might be easier to just take it out at that point.
Okay, there's probably a better way to say this as well.
Yeah.
No new companions or apprentices. Okay. Artifact tiles are produced in rituals as part of the dusk phase. Upon performing a ritual, you take the corresponding artifact tile and Okay, keeps is not correct, and keep it near you, where it provides a permanent reminder of the ritual and specifies the bonus provided to you. If the artifact is of a type that has an effect that may be used once per day, you place one of your marker cubes on the tile. When it has been used, you clear the marker tile for that day.
I'm not sure that where it provides a permanent reminder of a ritual performed is an entirely relevant sentence. Just say it specifies the bonus provided by the artifact by your artifacts.
It's a reminder of what you can do or what it does, but it's not a reminder of the ritual.
It's not a reminder that I did this. It's a reminder that I can do this.
Yep, agreed. Okay, we've got another pop out here. Unlike other artifact tiles, the Magic Portals artifact tile is not kept next to your board, but instead is placed on a location on the map with one of your marker cubes on it to indicate ownership. From then on, your characters can travel each day as though starting from either your citadel or directly from the location of the magic portal. Again, that definitely does not belong in the contents of the box.
No, that is a very important point, but it should go in on the artifacts page.
Yeah. Most artifacts cannot be used immediately on the day they are produced. That should probably go first.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The Mighty Works artifacts. So, okay, we've got some issues with your specifics here. We've got a number of specific... We're calling out a number of specific rules for specific things...
That we don't know yet.
That we don't know yet.
And don't belong on a contents of the box page.
I wouldn't even necessarily put them in the general text of the artifacts. Maybe they can be exceptions right at the bottom. Or maybe they can just be exceptions on those specific rules. Maybe. And you have a rule somewhere that says a lot of these interactions have specific rules. Find those specific rules in this location.
Maybe have an appendix of artifact tiles.
Yes. There might be that. We don't know.
Yeah, but I would have...
This is not the place.
Yeah.
Okay, but so... What we've learned about it, though, is it has no special powers, and performing rituals generate prestige. Ritual and golem ritual may only performed. Okay, so it's it's calling out specific things. If you perform a golem ritual and you don't get an artifact tile, but instead recruit the golem companion. Okay, sure. Turn round markers. So again, we're still in contents. This is just crazy. These markers indicate the current day and the current round within the daylight phase.
That
Standard
does not
game.
Need to say how long a game lasts.
Yeah.
I don't think that needs to say that. Like we've already indicated earlier on in the anatomy of the map how long a game is.
Okay, and I just have another thing here. We've got turn day and round markers. Which one is a turn day and which one is a round? I'm guessing the R is a round.
I would put them on separate lines. You have...
This is a current day marker. This is the round marker.
Yeah, have a separate dot point for a round marker. Day marker, round marker.
+1 and +2 combat skill tokens. Tokens used to indicate when companions such as the Swordsman and the Hedge Knight have received. It doesn't need to say Swordsman and Hedge Knight when certain companions have received a bonus to their combat skill. And okay, so we've got that. Tokens. Sure. Conflagration, Writhing Smoke, and Buried tokens.
Again,
okay.
They're
formatted weird.
Yeah. I feel like if you're going to have a list of contents of the box, put specific tokens that are different on specific lines.
Alright, so they just denote where those specific things
were
are.
cast.
Sure. Neutral companion bases used as bases for the standees. Alright. Neutral apprentice pieces represent apprentices that have not yet been recruited.
Also fine.
Divination order bonus tiles. These tiles are used to indicate the bonus granted for players further back in the divination order, appropriate for the number of players in the game. the tiles remain in place for the whole game. Don't know yet.
Don't know yet. Don't think it will. Don't. I feel like it should just say
Because this is not.
three.
These are not
bonus.
separate markers. These are things that are on the board, right?
Yeah, that's where I saw them.
Yeah. So that doesn't belong here in the contents of the box unless they're specific. Unless you've got them as more tiles.
Yeah.
Player components. Okay, so we've talked about board components or box components. Now player components. Okay, one question before we do that. Why are player components different to all of these things?
I feel like it's in the more rough draft stage. You would have. That's how you do it. You would do it, so there's just split it out in your head, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right, so probably then, if you're gonna have that, then I would again go back to the
alphabetize it.
maybe alphabetize. Certainly, you would have contents of box.
Yeah.
Then, if you wanted to differentiate player and say table.
Map components.
Or just table components,
Yeah.
then you would have table components here, so that when you got to player components, you won't like why.
Yeah.
So table components and player components.
Yeah. Further down here.
Each player board, which is that one, is it? Is that the player board? It looks like a magical art track to me.
It says they display 4 magical art tracks and their laboratory and their
Okay,
library.
so in that case, then the first thing that this needs to say is player board. And then it needs to have the next thing can be magical art tracks and whatever these things are, but it needs to say player board at the top. Because otherwise we're looking across and we're going, that's magical arts, not player board.
Yep.
Or it can have it at the bottom. You've got a nice lot of empty space, blank space there. It can have big player board on it.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily have to be at the top, but somewhere prominent that we can clearly see that it is the player board would be nice. One player board. Each player board displays 4 magic art tracks, 1 each for the magic arts. Earth, air, fire, and water.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got their symbols. They all make sense. They've got their colours. That's all very nice.
That is very nice, yes.
What I'm wondering, though, is it intentional to have earth brown filled brown, fire orange filled orange, water blue filled blue, and air purple filled white? If it was me, I'd be going either air white filled white or air purple filled purple to be consistent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got the same idea.
I feel like it would make a difference if the background was not white.
Right. So maybe if it was a different colour. We don't know
because white for air does make sense.
Mm-hmm, it does.
If you have a background colour that isn't also white.
Sure. Agreed. Each track consists of 7 circles representing increasing skill in each art. Okay, and they go 1 through to 7 apparently. Now, as a matter of differentiation,
there were 6.
There were 6 earlier.
Looks like the only purpose of 7 is to get victory points.
Right.
And I
maybe though we could just say in here there is 7, but there's no extra effects or something.
Spell tableau could be 7 and then the number of victory and
yeah, you
7
can have it in those 2 separate places.
Just a little symbol of victory points underneath.
Yeah, maybe, we don't know.
Yeah.
Could be fine. Cost to increase to each circle on these tracks is shown above them. So it costs 2 lore, 3 lore, 4 lore, 5 lore, 6 lore. Makes sense?
Yep.
The board also has spaces for their Citadel's laboratory.
Also, Citadel is Citadel /S meant to be bolded then not bolded?
I don't think so, and it's not correct anyway.
No, it's not. But
Citadel is not the correct
yeah,
pluralizing. It should be Citadels either without a thing, which is perfectly fine, or Citadels with a possessive at the end. Yes, and it should all be bold.
Yes.
But
that's what immediately
tiny things.
Yeah, but that's just what caught my eye.
The board has places for Citadel, laboratory, and library.
Yep.
Each of which have a track to show the facility's size, starting at size 1, which is marked. That's nice.
Yes.
The laboratory also includes storage for collected mana and lore.
Yep, it does.
Which is here. Store, lore, and mana.
Yep.
Maximum retained at end of dusk equals 2 plus 1. 2 plus
size of
1
laboratory.
times size of... So 1 times size of laboratory is terrible.
2 plus size of laboratory.
Yes.
Is what you need.
1 times is not okay.
No.
Each of which have attractive... Yep. The laboratory at mana and lore at the end of dusk, excess mana and lore must be discarded. I think that's pretty important. So this is something so I've play tested the game, and that's something that wasn't understood very easily. Is you can store on the laboratory, but you can't store between turns.
That's important to yeah, that would be important to know.
Because at the end of dusk, so you can store until dusk of the same day, and then it's discarded. You can't even use it for anything once dusk is ended. You can convert it during dusk to something else, but it's discarded
on that
if there's any extra.
On the board it says maximum retained at end of dusk, which would imply to me that I could hold
them through dusk.
Hold them through dusk.
Yes. So you've got, which one is it?
Yeah.
I know from playing it that you can't retain them after dusk.
But looking at that board, I would say
But the board says that you can keep them through dusk.
I can keep, but at the end of the first turn, I can have 3 things on there for the next turn.
So I would have on the board. I would have maximum retained during turn.
Yes, that would work, and discard at end of dusk.
Right.
Make sure that's clear on the
board
itself.
as well.
Yeah.
One player Citadel marker. This marker is placed on your choice of Citadel location on the Valley map during the game's initialization process. Okay? Wizard, larger meeple, and apprentice pieces, smaller meeples. The larger meeple represents your wizard. Okay, I think we're repeating ourselves.
Yes.
So if you're going to have it here, you don't need it there. If you've got it there, you don't need it there.
Yeah, wizard and apprentice meeples. The large meeple represents, the small meeple represents, or yeah.
Okay, wizard.
Or you could have sort of two lines: wizard, large, apprentice, small meeples, sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, the wizard and apprentice pieces are moved to your library or laboratory, or to locations on the Valley map to show where they are taking an action.
That does not belong in our contents of this box.
It doesn't, and it's also very confusing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take into account how many actions you've got and everything like that. Definitely does not belong there.
No.
7 companion bases used to hold the standees. Yeah, 30 marker cubes. Used in a variety of ways. You will use 1... See how it's got 30? This is great.
Yeah, that's good.
You will use 1 to mark your position on a prestige track, and another to indicate your turn order. Okay, so if that's the case, are these color-coded to players?
Yeah.
And if so, they probably should have color-coded to players somewhere.
So 30 marker cubes.
5 of each colour.
5 per colour. 5 blue, 5 yellow, 5 red, 5 green, 5 black, 5 white. Whichever way you want to put it.
Yeah, or 6, or however many.
Yeah.
being that there was 6 citadels, that would mean 5 each.
Yeah.
Right. In addition, they mark spells your wizard has cast in the dawn,
Yeah.
the circles of knowledge reached in magic arts, and the size of your citadel's library and laboratory. I feel like 30 is not going to be
more than
enough.
that, because you're going to need 4, 5, 6 at least, 7.
I'd go
8.
for 10 easily.
Yeah, because you'd need, just to figure out, just for the prestige track, for spell your wizard cast.
So even if you just cast one spell.
Yep, and if you can cast.
Then magic arts,
So
which has 4 things.
4, yep.
So that's 2, 3, 4. Then you've got size of laboratory, size of library, the resources on the map that you've divined, which could be lots. You're probably going to need 15 to 20 of each colour.
Yes.
If you're differentiating
by colour. And it seems like we are.
Yes. So it says here, all player pieces and bases are available in 4, eventually 6 colours. Why is this? I mean, we've got 6 citadels. It should be 6.
It should be 6 right from the gate. If you've got 6 citadels, you have 6 players. You have 6 player colours.
Yeah. So we would be suggesting that it would be 20 of each colour.
Yeah.
And that you would say from the start, if that's the case, then that's 100 marker cubes.
Yes.
20 of each colour. And then at the start of the paragraph, you would say each colour represents a different wizard. Choose your colour at the start of the game. That's your colour for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then go through what they mark.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're finally at initialization. We've talked about what's in the box.
Setup and initialization?
That's what it says.
Which one is it?
I think it's both.
Yeah, pick a term. If you're going to use initialization, then...
Yeah, I'd probably have setup.
And
just go through that. And then you've got initialization here anyway.
Yeah.
So just have a different... Have them separate. You don't have to have them here both. So
yeah.
Setup, lay out the valley map board, and place the spells tableau. Okay, sure. Place the day marker on day 1 of the day track. Yes, I mean, okay. And the round marker on the first space of the round track. Shuffle and place next to the map board, face down. Okay, probably that should say shuffle and place the following things next to the map board, face down. The easy and hard adventure decks. It probably could have brackets how many cards again are in those. Just for clarification. The companion deck.
Particularly if this is your first playthrough, you want to make sure that
the magic item deck, the mana resource deck, the general resource deck.
Yep.
Okay. We've also got an unbolded general there.
Yes, we do.
Place the map. Not that you can see me pointing at it.
There.
Place the mana crystals, lore tokens, and the +1/+2 combat skill tokens, and artifact ritual tiles, and the special green mark. No.
No, I don't. Place the mana crystals, lore tokens, combat skill tokens, artifact.
I think probably then it should be.
Are they artifact rituals or artifact tiles?
Well, they're made from rituals, but they're called artifacts.
So I don't think you actually need to put ritual there.
I don't think so either. I think probably that this dot point should read place the following
next to the board.
Next to the board.
And then just dot
within easy reach. Mana crystals, lore, blah 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 blah.
Combat skill tokens,
again,
artifact tiles.
in the same format that you've just had here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it in the same format. For ease of use.
Yes.
I could edit it here, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Place the divination order bonus set. Place the divination order bonus set.
I don't recall seeing that in the. If I picked this up for the first time and I didn't see
Wouldn't know
that,
what that was.
I wouldn't know what that was after reading the contents of the game box.
Correct. For the appropriate number of players under the divination order track, the 4-player set is printed on the board itself. For example, with 4 players, the bonuses are as follows.
If you're going to have them as tiles, don't put a default on the board. Otherwise, it's going to get confusing.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the board again real quick. Sorry to scroll because it's going to look terrible on the video, but you know, we just got to see. So we've got our bonuses here. So were they not?
It looks like best of 4-player, but if you're going to have tiles that have different setup orders,
then you shouldn't have them here.
no. Only print what's on the board, what's always going to be.
What's always on the board.
Like having, I can't, please indicate one of the, like the law token or something on the monastery.
On the monastery.
Yeah,
this
like
thing.
if you're going to have something like that, because pointing doesn't work,
Yeah.
all the time, then that's fine to put there. But if you're going to have, if it's going to be variable for number of variable,
yeah,
don't print it on the board itself.
Yeah, so if it was going to be a different amount each time, you'd not have the 1. If you're going to have different amounts depending on different amounts of players for your bonuses, don't have them printed on the board.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And again, you know, this wording is pretty bad. Sorry. The divination order bonus set. There's some word.
Unless you've
not
specifically
right
called
there.
it, unless you specifically have a page that says divination order bonus set somewhere, like, and that's a specific set, a specific term in your.
Or this is meant to be read: place the divination order bonus, comma, set for the appropriate number of players.
That would make
I think
more sense.
that's probably how this is meant to be read, but yeah.
Yeah.
Probably find a better way to write this.
And you really, I don't think you need to put, for example, with 4 players in the setup phase document. Have that on its own page with the 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, 5 players, and 6 players.
We can't just have an example here.
No. This isn't where you put the examples.
So we would have in this step, instead of all of this that we've got highlighted, you would say, place the divination order bonus, set for the appropriate number of players, as described.
On X page.
Yeah.
On page 5.
And then go through, on that page, then say 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, 5 players, 6 players.
Yeah.
And which ones are appropriate for that.
Yes.
Or even if it's 4+ players is all the same, put 4+.
Yeah. Exactly.
Place out. Okay, so why are we placing and placing out? Again, we need consistency. So place the right starting general resource cards and easy adventure cards for the number of players. Okay.
That's actually not so bad to put.
Sure. Okay.
There.
Yeah, we've got. See. Okay.
Yeah.
Why have we got 1 example and then 6 examples?
Yeah.
Do one or the other.
If you, even with the divination bonus thing, you could have pictures of what's, of the appropriate setup. The same way you've done the adventure cards and resource cards.
Yeah. See, that's fine, having the dot points like this with all of the players. That should be the same, probably.
That is actually, and the dot points there are really good. Are exactly where I'd be looking to figure out what the correct setup is.
Yeah, so probably do the same.
Yeah.
For 3 or more players, place an apprentice on the stones. For 6 players, draw a random companion card and place that companion on the stones.
Ignore its usual start locations. That's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Those things make sense. Each player, So what do we got? So we've got set up
So this is still
on the
set up.
board. Each player
Yeah.
starts with a player board showing laboratory and library. You don't need to say this again. Just a player board.
Yeah.
Because we've told everybody what a player board is.
We've shown what it looks like.
Correct. Each player starts without any circles of knowledge marked on the magical arts tract and with marker cubes placed on the 1 on the size tracks in their laboratory and library.
That is important.
3 mana crystals and 1 lore. 1 of their color marker cubes. So now we're saying that they're definitely meant to be color marker cubes based on the player.
Yeah.
Alright, so that goes back. We did get that right, and it needs to be stated here.
And you still definitely need more of them.
Lots more. Probably 20.
Each. Yeah.
Each, yeah. Their Citadel marker, 2 characters. They will gain 2 companions as part of the initialization process below. So that's not setup, that's initialization.
Yeah. That's
okay.
That's fine.
I'm not 100% sure of the term you're using.
Yeah.
With initialization. I feel like, and it's up to you. Let me show my face while we're looking. None of this, by the way, is having a go at you. Initialization could just be game start.
Yeah.
It's like start of game process, or
yeah. So you've done the setup already.
Or
you've got
play start, or start of play, or
yeah.
Initialization. What is that? I don't know if that's
booting up a computer. That's not what I associate with a game.
If you like it though, keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So we're determining the first player randomly.
It just doesn't feel medieval, and the setting you're going for is
Medieval. Yep, that's a good point actually.
As I say, it feels like I'm booting up a computer. Initialization would be a great term for a game setup in a more modern place, but this is a medieval game.
Yeah, and I like the idea of something like the last person to be turned into a toad, or something.
Some silly thing.
They're just random. Okay, sure, but maybe have something lighthearted in there because everyone loves having a weird ass way to determine the first player.
There's one game that I saw that was the last person who was on a balcony, and it was about Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
Sort of thing. Have something appropriately.
The first person to yell out bibbidi bobbidi boo or alakazam.
The last person to have concocted to have completed a ritual, whatever. However you do, and then that leaves it.
Completed a ritual? That's a good one.
Yeah.
The last person to have completed a ritual.
And it leads the players to figure out what is a ritual
yes.
in their group. Is a ritual the fact that I do this and this and this and this before I go to work? Or,
yeah,
you know.
So that's some ideas, starting with that player, proceeding turn-wise, which is clockwise. Turn-wise, take it off.
Proceeding clockwise.
Each player may either choose a citadel location and set their marker there, or an initial divination order position, placing one of their marker cubes on the selected position. You do not get the turn order bonus yet. So we're either picking a citadel or picking a bonus.
Yeah.
Once each player has selected one of these, they then take turns again. This time, anti-clockwise. Oh, so, okay, it looks like that the reason we're saying clockwise and anti-clockwise is because we've got turn-wise and widdershins.
Okay, that makes more sense then. I mean,
I still don't know about it, but it's up to you if you want to keep those in.
But if you are doing that, setting that up as this turn-wise is one term, game widdershins is one specific game term, then that's...
Maybe have a game terms area if we're going to be doing things. To select the other option, so they take turns anti-clockwise to select the other option.
So if they chose their divination, they then pick their citadel.
Correct.
And vice versa.
Finishing with the previously determined first player. This point, all players should have a selected citadel location and a divination order position. Any unselected citadel locations on the map now play no further part in the game. That's fine. Next, if they play no further part in the game, it might be worth including some blank hexes as part of the game to cover them up. Lots of games do this.
Yeah. And it won't confuse or...
Fire Tower is a good example.
Yeah, so
because there's 4 players, and if you only have 2 or 3, you put a blank on there.
Well, it's not exactly blank, it's on fire.
Well, it's on fire,
but yeah.
Next, each player selects 2 companions chosen as below. Start with 3 companion cards drawn, starting with the player who ended up with the last position. Okay, you've got this in really weird order.
So if I'm reading that, everyone starts with 3 companions. Then you draw a 4th and you select 1.
Yep. So who ended up with the last position? So yep. And proceeding in reverse divination, each player should draw a 4th. So okay. So each player draws 3 companions, correct?
Yes, that's what I'm reading.
Right, so instead of start with 3 companion cards drawn, say each player draws 3 companion cards.
Or deal 3 companion cards to each player.
Or deal, yeah. Starting with the player who ended, now you're making sense. Proceed in reverse divination order and draw a 4th companion card. Okay, so then we've done that. Select 1 from those drawn. Disregard the starting locations for the companion. Once the player with the first position has chosen their first companion, that player then selects a second companion. Follow. Okay, so yeah, we don't need this much.
If you're going to randomly draw cards anyway, and you don't have a tableau
just
of
get everyone
companions,
to
draw everyone
4 cards.
Yeah, deal 4 cards, unless you want to do to have a sort of open tableau of companions that you can that the last player gets to pick first from. If they're all going to be come directly from the deck, just deal them out straight from the deck.
Also, the way that I'm reading this in this step, let me highlight, okay, this step. Okay, so the way that this reads, we've selected our first companion from a choice of 4.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we've done that, that's the trigger. Once they have, the first player has, that player selects a second companion.
Well, I guess if it's gone clockwise then anti-clockwise, it makes it. Then this one would go anti-clockwise then clockwise, in order of picking.
But wouldn't it? So tell me why that is different to the player in the first position selects 2 companions.
It's not.
Then why?
I think the only reason it makes a difference to do it in that order, do it is if you have an open tableau that you pick from. If you're just going to be dealt 5 cards, pick 2. Be dealt 5 cards and pick 2.
Followed by the other players going back down the initial divination order, with each player drawing back up to 4 cards, then selecting a second companion. This is really crazy order that you're saying this in.
Pick 5. Draw.
Oh, well, it's
draw,
4.
Draw. Well, yeah. So, but if you're going to have them done like that, deal each player the number of cards that they're going to have in the end, because it's not going to make a difference when you get it, if it's
so if this is meant to be a tableau where, so okay, the difference is I've either got 4 cards that I'm choosing from,
or 3 cards and 1
3 cards and 1 from
a face up tableau,
right? So that could be it, or there could be all face up cards, right?
And you maybe get
and then you can pick one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we're drawing to replace them.
Yeah.
So it's very ambiguous.
Which would make sense if you're going to do it that way for the person who is going last to pick first, because that's how a lot of those games work. You going first is its own bonus. Going last is compensated. somehow, extra resources or whatever. So either you're going to deal the amount of cards all face down and just pick them, or you do it in that order and it's a tableau sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that needs to be much clearer than it is, and it needs to probably, if each player gets to select 2, don't put it in a separate thing. Say that they select 2, unless it's intended to be that each player is selecting 1 in turn, and then they go back to the start and select another one.
Again,
which would only make a difference if it's in a tableau.
Exactly. If it's all hidden cards in hand,
then just pick 2.
Just pick 2 of them.
Yep, each player collects the character standees for their chosen companions, inserting them into one of their player colour bases. So the bases are now player coloured as well.
Yes.
We didn't have that before, did we?
We didn't. We were told there were neutral companion bases.
Okay, so that needs to be in the contents of the box if there's going to be player colour bases.
As well as neutral colour bases.
And if there is player colour bases and their companions are going on them and you're getting new companions, there's going to be a whole stack of them, potentially 5 or 6, depending on how many companions we're meant to be having.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Particularly considering that the meeples are wizards and apprentices. So if you're going to cap the number of companions, then maybe cap it at 4, because you can equip if you can have.
Well, it's up to him how many he wants.
But the thing is, you're not getting more than maybe if you get 1 at it, figure out the maximum number of companions and then provide that many coloured bases.
Yeah. So we would also recommend at the same time that that's obviously in the box contents, and they should probably be in the same location as the cubes.
Yes.
That are coloured in the players' colours.
And
they should be together.
Yep, and have enough reusable bags when this goes out that you can have a bag for each colour at some point.
Yes, bags are useful.
Please, I hate trying to find reusable bags from other places.
Stand them along with their wizard and starting apprentice, mana and lore close to their player board and companion cards. All other player pieces start off, not in use. So probably start off the board or start not in use.
Yep.
Probably don't need the word off.
Yep.
Not in use and should be kept aside until needed. Okay. Cool. So we've got some summaries now. This looks very similar to the page that we were looking at before.
I think it might be that.
Right.
One, and it's just
Sure.
But there might have been a bit more. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully we define what all of this stuff is.
Yeah.
At the moment they're not. Okay.
If you're going to put a summary like that, put it after you've defined everything.
Yes. This is a weird place.
Yep.
Right? Am I not?
No, put that at the back. I would honestly put that sort of as the last page of the book, so you can just flip the book on its back and have that sitting on the table.
Yeah.
Or something, personally.
During the dawn phase of each day, wizards will take turns divining where new events and resources of interest to them have turned up in the valley. These can be new sources of mana or lore, new potential companions or apprentices, or new adventures. Wizards can also spend this time casting spells to help them and their companions and apprentices during the coming day. Wizards will typically want to place resources that are of most interest to them close to their citadel so that they can be reached quickly before another wizard gets to them, or in a particular location that they think will benefit them, such as blocking the placement of another resource there.
Does that mean that you can get someone else's resources if you stumble across it?
So we haven't talked about this yet, but there's movement in this game.
Okay.
Yep. We'll get to that.
Because That,
we're
that reads,
make a good point.
yeah,
that-
that reads to me like you can see where we're broadcasting what we're found is.
So yeah, effectively we've got actions and we can move a certain amount, and when you move, you get to these locations. So when you put something close to you, it's going to take longer for someone else to get there, is the idea. Because the strongholds, or whatever they're called, are separated by at least a few hexes.
Yeah.
So as a round and we'll go through this, but as a round goes along, you start with 1 movement, and then 2 movement, and then 3 movement, and then 4 movement, right?
Yeah.
So you can only move 1 hex with your first turn. So if you're putting resources next to you, the other person can't get there in their first turn, but you can. That's the idea.
Which is fine. But I just don't read from there that I'm just not sure from reading it whether other people know where my stuff is.
Not until this goes back to what we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
where we were marking resources.
Yeah.
So it's an action effectively to mark a resource, to go, yes, I see that.
Yeah, I'm just making the point that it hasn't been written anywhere yet.
Not properly. It was referred to, but not yet.
Yeah, it hasn't been written anywhere, and as a blind read, that's something that stands out to me.
Yeah, we're wondering more about that. So, okay, it might clear it up in this page. We don't know. Wizards can... Yeah, we've done spells. We've said that. So, preparation.
Also, how many spells can we cast?
I think, well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Preparation. So day phases. So we're dawn. I think, yes, we've got dawn here. That's good. Dawn. During dawn, we can do all of these things. All right. Preparation. Draw fresh mana and general resource cards. Okay, this is how many we're drawing.
That makes sense.
Probably in this sentence we say according to the player count as below.
Yes.
So that we know that not each player is not drawing these, it's the table is drawing them.
Yes.
According to how many players there are.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got all of this. Each of them has a star on it, and the exception is that on the first day, which is where we start, right? When only new mana resource cards are drawn at this point, there will already be 2 to 4 special day 1 general resource cards available and 2 to 4 starting adventure cards, which should be revealed at this point. Did we talk about that earlier? Maybe we did. I've forgotten already.
I did see that there were greenback cards mentioned,
which are specific to adventures.
Specific sort of thing as specific to like starting resources.
Yeah, I don't think this is clear yet.
No.
There will already be? No, we have to put them there. We have.
Except so if maybe phrase that except on the first day when only new mana and resource cards are drawn, use the greenbacks. Start,
Yeah, or whatever they are.
Use the greenback cards to generate the remaining the special
ones.
First day 1 resources,
which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need a little clarification there because saying there will already be, no, there's not already going to be until we haven't put them on there.
Yeah, so just make it clear that there's
Alright, divination. Take turns. So we've gotten preparation. So we're just drawing mana and general resources.
Yes.
Divination order. Take turns performing the following activities. Wizards may perform 1 activity on the first round and 2 on each subsequent round. Okay. Yeah. Place resources corresponding to a resource card or adventure card.
So you have a tableau. There is a tableau of what has been discovered, and you just figure out who discovered it.
Yes, I think that probably. I know that this has beating a dead horse, but probably we need to say that when we draw, we don't just draw. We draw and put them face up on the table that everybody can see
all the
them.
players can see.
Drawing them does not mean the same thing.
Drawing them is holding in hand.
So draw and place them on the table where all
face up.
Face up on the table.
Yep. Then
Then we choose one.
Yep.
And we place that on. No resources adventure can be placed on any citadel location. If there is a valid location for the resource that does not yet contain any other resource, so these are our rules.
Yep.
The resource must be placed in such an empty location. It may not be placed on a location that already contains a resource unless there is no other option. So if they're all filled, the laboratory and library expansions options and the bonus lore at the monastery do not count for this, but for a game of 4 or more players, any first day bonus apprentices at the stone do count. Okay. A given type of resource may never be placed at any location already containing the same type of resource. Okay.
What happens if once you can't place them?
Yeah, we'll see if it says that. This includes placing lore at the monastery if there is any lore remaining there from the previous day. When you select a resource card specifying a companion, draw 3 companion cards and select one to be placed on the valley map board at one of its valid starting locations. The other companion cards are discarded. When you select an adventure card, leave it next to the board. So it does go on a little bit. Alright, we'll keep on going and see if it's in this step, okay? When you select an adventure card, leave it next to the board. Place one next to the adventure card and the other on the chosen location. So that's the...
Yep.
Whenever you place a resource or adventure, also place one of your marker cubes next to the resource to show that you know. So there it says, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm placing it, I know where it is.
Yes.
And only I know where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we've got some text. Why is this text in a different box?
Yeah. Actually, I love the box
This is a better box.
That's a much better box, yes. I like that box more.
For all wizards without a marker, I would say, though, that this colour is horrible.
Yeah.
Sorry. All of these colours are horrible, but anyway. For all wizards without a marker next to a given resource, not counting the city laboratory expansion space or the stone's library expansion space, the exact position of the resource within the map location takes an extra travel point to determine during the daytime, increasing the minimum travel time for them to reach that resource. This could be said far better than that.
For all wizards without a marker next to a given resource, not counting the city laboratory, the exact position.
So, because we haven't even talked about travel points yet.
No.
You need to talk about travel points before we can say extra travel points.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, reading this in order that I have, never having played the game, so no experience, I'm like, what the heck's a travel point?
Exactly. We haven't heard anything at all about travel points. You can't be talking about travel until you talk about travel.
Yes.
Divine the exact location of a resource. But basically what it means is, obviously, because we haven't talked about it, every round we get more and more movement. If you haven't placed a resource, so you don't have a marker next to it, it's going to take you
a little longer to
get a round longer, or a turn
or a point longer
to get there. Divine the exact location of a resource placed by another wizard. So this is in the list of things that we're doing.
Yep.
Okay. You place one of your marker cubes next to an already placed resource. Probably you should say to a resource that has already been placed.
Yeah.
Alongside the marker placed there by another wizard. The first use of this activity in each dawn is free.
Okay.
But subsequent uses cost 1 mana each. So we can, once during this phase, we can put our colour cube on one undiscovered resource by us.
Yep.
And after that, we have to pay
to
do it. Okay.
And that
We
explains.
probably want to do one that's close to us.
Which will explain how you can get to someone else's earlier, because that wasn't explained earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, we might be like, I want a gun for that.
Yeah.
And you put a marker on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can cast a spell. Hopefully it tells us what spell.
Any given spell may only be cast by each wizard once per dawn, sorry.
Only cast spells you have the requisite knowledge for, and there is no other cost apart from using one activity for that dawn round. So you use an activity.
And how many activities?
We haven't said how many activities we have yet, have we?
It's go down a bit. There was one activity on the first round, 2 each on each subsequent round.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That
not clear.
Doesn't explain how many activities we have to me.
No. Yeah. How long is a round and...
Yeah. Because I think if you're looking at a round being fairly short, then you want to cast a spell and do something else, mark something. But if you've got longer and longer rounds, you can cast, with that, you can cast a lot of spells, and if there's no cost for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need to know what a round is. I don't think it's talked about that.
I don't recall reading that one.
All right. And this is something that I've said to Donald before anyway. That it's unclear with rounds and phases and stuff, like how long things are.
Yeah.
Divine, the exact location of a resource. Yes, we've said that. Cast a spell.
Yes.
Okay. Drop out to claim daytime action order. Only if you have performed no other activity this round.
So you can pass.
You move your turn order marker over to the earliest available space on the daytime action order track.
So the first one to pass is first in the actual daytime.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
I like that. If all other wizards have dropped out, the last wizards must place all remaining resources before dropping out. So there's resource tokens to be placed.
Yeah.
And the last player, if there's still cards out, they must place them.
Yep.
Before dropping out, they still get to place their marker cubes next to all those resources and may also still cast spells or place extra marker cubes next to already placed resources. Take as many rounds as required. So by the sounds of this, a round is just everyone agreeing.
Everyone has taken two actions.
Yeah. So how many times
can you
do that?
Because if you can cast spells with no cost, you could cast all of your spells.
Yeah. Continue until all wizards have dropped out. Place an extra lore token on the monastery. Even if there is already a lore resource placed there.
Okay.
Wasn't there a rule earlier that says don't do that?
I think so. I thought I read that.
Add an extra lore to that resource. If any resources remain that cannot legally be placed according to the above placement rules, they don't get placed.
Good.
Mana and general resource cards are returned to their deck, while adventure cards are shuffled into their deck, and a replacement to be placed on the next dawn is drawn. It could be the same card because you've shuffled and then drawn.
Yes.
Okay, so we were talking earlier...
It did say up there, unless there is no other option, the laboratory do not count for this. There is
It may not be placed on this location that already contains resource unless there is no other option.
So they do. So the laboratory, library, and monastery do not count.
Okay, sure.
Sure.
All right. So that is dawn.
Yes.
So number one, movement or travel.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that.
Yes.
Because you've not talked about travel, but you've referred to travel. Not okay.
Length of round is also
very ambiguous.
ambiguous.
Very ambiguous. At this point, And we're on to a new phase, so it's kind of important to have that there.
Yep.
Alright, daytime. During the daytime, players will take turns over a series of rounds, moving their characters and companions to locations in their citadels or on the valley map, and performing some action at that location. Each character gets to take one action on their own or in company with other characters belonging to the same player per daytime. One action per daytime. See, that's clear.
That's nice and clear.
Your wizard is the exception, and you may take 2 actions each downtime. So long as the first action is taken indoors at the library or laboratory, and the second is taken outside on the valley map. We have to be inside and outside.
That makes sense. That's quite clear.
You can only perform an action once all the characters needed are able to travel to the valley location where the action will take place. See the travel rules further down. Again, they needed to be earlier.
Put them up. Yep.
On each round, you place 1 or more characters. Or, so before we go on, you could have here travel time. Travel is explained on page bleh.
That would have been fine too.
But not just left in the middle of nowhere without anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to have all people able to go there.
Yep.
If we're traveling multiple people. Reachable valley map location, or send your wizard or an apprentice to the library of your citadel to perform one action. Finally, you may choose not to place any characters on a given round if you wish to save all your remaining characters to travel to resources still out of reach, so long as no other player has finished for the day. So long as that's a caveat. Okay. All right, let's just quickly skip to travel.
Yeah.
Because where the hell? Okay, too far. Sorry, nope. Travel. Let's talk about travel. Which valley locations or characters may travel to on each round of the daytime? Each round of the daytime? Why were we talking about travel in dawn?
I don't know.
There's a question for you. Is determined largely by how close the location is to your citadel, but can be affected by spells, magic items, or other effects. Your citadel's library and laboratory never require any travel points to reach. Other locations require travel points at least equal to their distance from your citadel, and resources within those locations require an extra travel point to locate precisely unless you have a marker cube next to it showing you know just where it is. This needed to be way earlier in this document. It needed to be before we talked about getting resources.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Because
this is my opinion, or our opinion.
Yeah, I would agree, because that would make, because it did say place them closer to your citadel.
Right, but why?
But this
tells us why.
Explains
but
why.
How many pages did we have to scroll through to get to this?
I don't know, what page are we at now?
I don't know. I can't see on this one.
Yeah,
it's too hard.
Yeah.
Alright. Unless you have a suitable spell. Round 1. So, we're talking about daytime at the moment, right?
Yes.
You get that?
Yep.
Round 1. You get a base travel of 1 travel point, so you can only deploy characters at the wizard citadel or to resources in the locations adjacent to your citadel. Round 2, 2 travel points. All resources in adjacent locations.
Round 3, 3 travel points. Round 4, 4 travel points, I guess.
And so on.
Yep.
Barring spells, every resource is reachable by the 5th round regardless of where it is on the map.
Which is why you might want to hold someone back.
Right. resources that are always available, the ones that are not placed during divination. Did we have a description during the divination phase that says that those resources are not always available?
No, but it was no. But resources that are always available, not placed.
So, because that says to me,
resources that are always available, such as the laboratory
expansion space and the library expansion space.
Yeah, I don't think
always considered known.
I don't think you need to have not placed during divination.
Yeah,
though,
that's
because it's been pretty obvious that the laboratory and the library expansion space are known.
There.
They're known. They're always are always going to be there.
Yeah, probably. You know, that could be better presented somewhere else. I understand why it's here, but certainly we don't need the brackets.
No, yeah, at least you don't need the brackets.
Modifying all of this.
Various
spells, such as those spells, can add travel penalties. I don't think you need examples, necessarily. Can add travel penalties that mean you need extra travel points to reach a given location or a given resource. Similarly, you can cast spells such as Water Walking, Haste, and Clear, or use certain magic items. So probably this can all be said by saying magical effects can give you penalties or bonuses to, or magical effects, magic items, and artifacts can give you penalties or something around. You can say that more succinctly.
Yeah.
Mitigate earlier spells. However, that only one travel boosting effect may be used for any one action, and some boosts are only provided to a limited number of characters. I don't think you need a note on a spell until the spell. I think this goes for all of the things. If you've got an exception to a rule...
Define the rule first.
Yep. Define the rule, and then whatever is the exception, only define the exception in the exception. So in the spell description, say this is an exception and this is why. You don't need this here because it's just confusing.
Because if I had Clear and Calm that I was casting, and I was trying to find it, I would go to spell page Clear and Calm.
Correct.
To find it.
Yeah, it needs to be on its own.
There.
Once any resource or adventure on the map has been completed, fully harvested, or claimed, right, so they're in the wrong order. I think you should probably have once any resource has been claimed or adventure has been completed or something like that. Or even if you have a respectively, once any resource or adventure on the map has been harvested or completed respectively.
Yeah.
Any of those is okay, but at the moment you've got resource, adventure, and then you've got completed, harvested. So they're in an incorrect order. And you're confusing.
Yes.
Any leftover marker cubes associated with a resource or adventure are returned to their owners. To their owners?
To the player.
Who owns a resource? Is it the person that...
No, the marker cubes. Any leftover
marker cubes. Right. If you partially harvest... Yep. If you partially harvest a mana
it's under the box.
Or lore resource that you did not have a marker cube next to,
now
may leave. How are you partially harvesting mana or lore if you didn't have a marker cube there?
Maybe if there's more than one in there? I mean, because it does say fully harvested or completed. So fully harvested indicates to me there's nothing left in the space.
My understanding at the moment is that you can't harvest until you know it's there.
Exactly, yeah.
At all.
That's my...
So how are we partially doing it without knowledge of where it is?
Well, it did say you can spend an extra movement point, travel point, to get to it.
Right. Okay.
And once you get there, you can. But once you get there, you
Probably
put your
needs some disambiguation.
Yeah, you put your cube down once you get there, which means that you don't need to put a cube down now you've harvested with another action, because harvest is a separate action to travel.
Yeah, okay. You may now leave one of your markers there to indicate. Yep. Okay. Sure. All right. So, and then we've got just it looks like these are all just examples, correct?
Yeah, looks like. And I like that they're different, but they shouldn't be gradiated. Like, see how this one's dark to light?
Okay.
Make that a single colour.
Sure.
Just as a point of...
So now we're going back because we needed to look at travel rules earlier.
Yeah.
Where were we up to? Like way up here somewhere.
We haven't done that yet.
Daytime?
We were doing daytime. We were...
Yeah.
We saw. I think we're up to the actions that can be undertaken.
I think we are too, but I guess I just want to just really quick. I mean, we're taking way too much time on this, but maybe we make a second video because we're getting late.
Yeah. Maybe finish the day phase here.
Yeah.
And then keep going.
Mm.
It's getting late, and I think we both want food. Yeah, it says.
So yeah, I
would need clarification as to whether you can in fact go for it or not.
Yeah.
Because do I actually know it's there to go for it?
Yeah. Okay.
So actions.
We didn't even talk about this yet, did we? We even further back? No.
No, we go back down. We did the starting up stuff and the dawn.
We've done the drop out. We missed this?
No, we discussed that bit.
So, okay, so we must be up to there.
Yeah, so we're up to the actions.
Harvest. Any group of characters at a given location.
Was it collect 3, 2, 1? And yeah, fair enough. Some companions can collect an extra one.
Right. Well, we need we need more. The reason why we need more is because to date, at this point, we only know. So, what is a location? Right? Is it just a place on the board? Right? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because we've got mana, or we've got resources that are effectively hidden until you've placed a marker on them.
Yes.
Right. So that's our understanding at this point. That someone gets to place a resource, and only they get I can see that.
Yeah.
Until someone goes there.
Or you mark it.
Or mark it as they're free.
Or you mark it in your dawn phase.
And then, right, above and beyond this, right, now we're saying when we get to a location, is that a marked location that we know of? Or is that just the hex that all of these things are in? Do you know what I mean?
Do we have to know
because
that it's there to...
If we can just harvest anything that is on a hex, why do we have to mark it?
Yeah, I mean, I get that you've got to have an extra space, but this is... Yeah, I get you. It's a small map, and I get that it's a small map because each round increases its travel time, you know. But,
I think that this could be solved by saying if the intention is once you have a marker on the resource, then you may take an action to harvest such mana.
That would make sense, yes.
If that's what's intended. Because at the moment, it's still a little bit unclear, I'm sorry.
And at this point, from that you might as well not bother not mark, you know?
Yeah, because I can... To the brutal letter of the rule, I can just move to a location and harvest whatever's there
Hello,
without
I
knowing.
didn't know there was any law here.
Yes. Seems a bit sus.
Yeah.
And if that's the intention, fine, but we need to know that. And it seems a bit odd.
And it's fine if that is the intention and you do take that extra travel space to get there.
Right.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Sure, it just needs to be clarified either way. Yeah. Maybe I'm overthinking that, but I'm... Yeah. Anyway, some companions can collect 1 extra mana. They'll have it on the card. There may still be magic effects that increase mana harvest. Only what mana is present may be harvested. Except for...
Exception.
Yep, probably don't need that.
Put that exception
in the Divining Rod.
In the Divining Rod
Harvest Law. Like mana harvesting, this action may be undertaken by any group of characters at a given location on the map, reachable by all the members of the group that round. Each character gathers law at the same rate as they would gather mana.
So why don't you just say harvest mana or law, if it's the same thing?
Yeah, because they're only getting an action or...
It's one action.
2 actions with a wizard. Yeah.
And it basically says down there that it's the same.
Yeah. Recruit a character. If you can recruit... You can recruit a new character to join you. If it is a companion, you can send any of your characters to recruit them. You take the companion's card to join those of your other companions. Replace the base for the companion standee with one of your own colour. Again, we haven't got those in the contents. But leave the companion standing where it was recruited that day. Okay? Only your wizard can be sent to recruit an apprentice.
So you can't use the companion straight up. You can't send it out from your base. You get it next round. Because all of your characters return to your citadel.
Yep.
At the end of the day. So...
Yeah, so there is an issue. So we've got this thing where any of our characters can recruit a companion, correct? Only our wizard can recruit an apprentice.
That makes sense.
At which point you can replace the neutral apprentice piece with one of your own colour, but again, leave the apprentice where it was recruited. Okay.
Yep. So you get it next, benefit next round. Yeah.
And you've got your little box. So that's a perfectly placed box, and thank you.
It is a very good box.
Complete adventure. You can send a group of 1 or more characters to complete an adventure at a location. I'd probably say you can send a character or group of characters, not a group of 1 or more characters, because 1 is not a group. Gaining the adventure card to show the renown gained. Okay, you can't have gained and gained, along with the specific rewards. Adventures come in 2 decks.
The player take the adventure card to show the renown gained.
Yep, come in 2 decks, 1 for easy and 1 for hard. The group of characters sent to location must all be able to travel. Well, okay, that needs to be the first stop point, because we've already gotten here in this stop point. Would you agree?
Yeah.
We're already there, so we're getting...
Complete adventure. All characters...
so we have to travel first.
Yeah, the group of characters sent must all be able to reach that on this
so that goes first, and then we talk about gaining and showing. Yeah. Yep. Agreed?
Yep.
Yeah. Group needs to be able to match the strength of the adventure. Easy adventures have a strength between 5 and 7. Hard adventures between 9 and 12. To see if the group matches this target, add up their score for this adventure as follows.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
1 point for each companion, 2 points for each apprentice, 3 points for your wizard, 1 point for each skill that matches the trait. If a wizard or apprentice is in the group, 1 point for each circle of knowledge in a magical art that matches the trait.
Okay.
Okay. Some adventures will allow special bonuses, such as granting an extra point if the wizard or a particular companion or apprentice is present. This will be indicated in the adventure card. If your group successfully matches or exceeds the adventure strength, take the card and keep it towards your final renown total and claim the rewards specified on the card. If the reward for an adventure includes Magic item, draw 3 cards if it was unspecified. The others are placed in the magic item plan, reshuffle. If it was named, take the responding special. Yeah. If the reward for an adventure includes an unspecified companion, again, draw 3, keep 1, and if it was a named one, take that one. On completion, draw a new adventure card to be placed during the next day's dawn phase.
Adventure card or 2? Where did the second adventure card come from?
If more than one was completed, because there has to be a certain number or something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Draw new adventure cards to replace?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, no. It defines it easier down. An easy adventure is replaced by a hard one and a hard one too easy.
By 2 easy adventures.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yep. I still think draw adventure cards to be placed for next. Draw new adventure cards to be placed for next day. It's a better wording than that, but it makes sense. Or 1 or 2 new adventure cards.
Okay.
Regardless, it makes sense. I'm just grammar picking, I guess.
Distill mana. So this again is a action. Actions.
Yes.
Yeah. This is another action.
Yep.
It might be worth maybe, and I don't know how you feel about this, putting actions continued on the tops of these pages. I don't know.
I would. Another way I might do it is put actions as a dot point list, and then go into specifics on them, so that you read.
So we have in here
actions that may be taken.
All of them in a list.
Yep, and then you go into harvest.
Right.
Recruit.
Right.
Adventure.
And then
distill.
Probably put this on the next page.
Yeah.
And then probably in the index or glossary or whatever, then you can go to each of those as actions, like have actions in the glossary and then each one with a page number so that they can be gone to easily.
That way,
Distill mana, your wizard or an apprentice may distill mana in your citadel's laboratory. The amount of mana generated by an apprentice is equal to the size of the laboratory. Generates twice this amount of mana.
Yeah, okay.
And we've got a Hedge Knight specific rule.
That works actually.
I don't think it belongs there.
Not there.
Study, research, law. Your wizard or apprentice can study in your library to gain law. The amount of law is equal to the size of the library.
And a wizard generates
twice the amount.
Yeah.
Expand laboratory or library. You can send a character to purchase equipment or texts to increase the size of your citadel's library or laboratory. Improving the laboratory requires character sent to the city and 1 mana.
Unless the character isn't.
Merchant. Improving the library requires a character sent to the stones and 2 mana for the first library, 3 for the second. Cost is 1 less mana if character is merchant. Alternatively, a couple of companions are able...
I would say some companions.
to expand your library by taking the action in the citadel. Okay.
I'd say some companions and don't...
I wouldn't even put it here, to be honest. I would put it in those companions.
Yeah.
May take this skill. It's an exception. It goes on only in the exception place, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
The merchant would also work putting the merchant exceptions
on the merchant.
To pricing in the merchant.
Yeah, because if you've got a glossary that says where each of these rules are, and you're stating what the exception on the card is, there shouldn't be a need to be having all of these exceptions.
As long as the glossary says it, then
because to be honest, this is a pretty long... It's not the longest rulebook I've ever read, let's be real, alright? But it's fairly long, And if you're reading exceptions every page,
it's longer, and you don't know what the exception is yet.
right, it's wasted space in my opinion. You place your acting character on the library of relevant valley location map to indicate that the expansion has been taken and move the marker cube size up. These laboratory expansions are only available once per day.
Across all players?
For 2 to 4 players, the twice per day and twice per day for 5 to 6.
Across all players, does that mean everyone can only do it once? Or that it can only be done once in a day?
I would say once per day for each player, not across all players.
Yes.
Yes. And then 5 to 6 players is second, costing an extra mana. Okay.
Yes.
Finish. You may choose to finish taking... I'm not... my mind. Let's not go to where my mind's going. Taking actions for the day. If you have no further characters able to take any other action, you must finish. When you do so, you take your turn order marker from the daytime turn order track and choose which of the remaining open spots on the dawn turn order track to place it on, ready for the next day's dawn phase. You may not take any further actions this day. You do not collect your dawn order bonus until the start of the dawn of the next day. You can also pass. You need not perform any action on a given round, saving your characters to take actions on later rounds so that they can get to further places.
Yep.
As long as no other player has yet finished. Once one player has finished for the day, no player may pass.
But
so that's interesting.
It is. Don't all your characters come back?
When?
At the end of dusk? Don't you start your dawn with all your characters in your citadel?
Yes.
So how come? So are these characters? Do they have limited times they can do things? Why would I save a character if I could send them out and do something, get them back, and go further next round?
Yep. I think you can only move once.
In a daylight. Once in daylight. Once per round of daylight. Is that it?
I think so.
Okay, because that would make sense.
Yeah, probably that should be stated.
Yep.
And basically, you only wait if you know that you can't make it to wherever you're trying to go.
Yeah.
And then you're effectively waiting until the next round, effectively passing to get to
the next
higher movement travel,
okay. Yep.
so that you can then travel that extra distance, knowing that maybe someone else might get to it first if they're closer to it.
Yes.
And can do it earlier.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
then
yes.
we go to activate travel.
Yeah, we've now looked at the travel, but it should be earlier.
Yeah, we've looked at that.
And we're up to dusk, so we're going to take a break now in our book reading. Looks like there's not actually that much to go.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about dusk in the next video. And then probably the second part at the end of talking about dusk, because this video has been a little bit longer, we've talked about it a lot. Probably we'll do the dusk and the rest of the book, and then we'll probably just highlight some dot points based on this video, like reiterate effectively the major things that we've come across at the end of that video. So hope this has been helpful, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.